Our last artwork of the Minoan is this fantastic piece here called the Harvester Vase. Now, what we're looking at is a sculpture. It's not made of pottery, it's not made of clay. Instead, it's made of rock, and the rock has been carved into a vessel, and the exterior has been carved to show what we believe to be a celebration of a harvest, or a group of young men who have completed a hard day's work on the rolling landscape of the Minoan island of Crete. Now, this is a close-up view because this is all that remains of the original. You can see here that it's been fractured and broken. This is a reconstruction of what we think the vessel shape was, this type of egg shape. It's only 5 inches in diameter, so it's not a very big piece, and it's held up on this stand. This type of shaped vase, vase, is assumed to be a ceremonial storage vessel, so perhaps some kind of a precious liquid would have been kept in this and then used for some sacred purpose. There is also evidence that while it is this beautiful black and gray, there is evidence that it was covered in a thin sheet of gold, or what we would call a gold leaf. Now, as I said, only the top remains, and we can only make assumptions about what the bottom shape looked like and what the decoration would have been on the bottom. Let's look here at what remains of the vase. It's called a harvester vase because we have a group of young men, and they are strong and shirtless. Woo! And they are bunched up, and they walk in the same direction around the vase, from left to right. You see them shirtless? Now, some of them are carrying tools, and some of them have their mouths open. You can see this is like a line of 4 of them, 4 deep. This guy here, he's holding something that we'll look at in more detail in another slide. But they walk together in this group, and they seem to be, I'm going to say it, in harmony with each other. Behind them, we see these rolling hills, very similar to the landscape of Crete. And then if we flip it around, let's go to the other side here. Here we are on the other side of the vase. On the other side of the vase, there is one man who wears some kind of a cape, some clothing draped over a shoulder. And the artist, whoever they were, took the time to give it a pattern or a texture. Look at this. The edging of it has some kind of a tassel, and he wears his hair longer. Resting on his shoulder is a tool of some sort, just like some of the other young men. So he's participating, or has participated in perhaps this harvest, but he is distinguished by his clothing. So is he a chief? Is he a leader? We're not quite sure. If we look at the front again, art historians love this vase because of this specific guy here. The guy has a rattle in his hands. Do you see it? It's got 2 beads on some kind of a strap, and he's shaking it. So it's going to make a sound. And then, thinking of sounds, remember I said anytime in art that you see a mouth open, there is a sound coming out. And most of these young men have their mouths open. See that? So I wish we were in class together. So what are they doing? They're singing. Yes. Oh my goodness. We have these young men, and are they singing softly? No, they're belting it out. This type of momentous kind of music. It's cheerful, it's loud, it's boisterous. They're happy, they're moving together. This is common in times of manual labor. You start singing songs to kind of break your mind from the physical monotony or the back-breaking pain of it. It develops a sense of camaraderie between the figures. Camaraderie is harmony. So we have this man who is perhaps leading with a beat. Another reason why art historians love this figure so much is because not only is he shirtless, but what is that? What is that? Those are his ribs. Art historians see this as one of the earliest examples of an artist taking the time to depict the body beneath the surface. It's not to say that this is the most realistic. We've seen beautiful sculptures that depict musculature, right? Look at the Egyptian sculptures. But here we see an artist depicting the skeletal structure underneath the surface, underneath the muscle. And that is to exaggerate the fact that he's got this big chest of air and he's about to sing really loud. He's so lovely, isn't he? So the harvester vase, we call it that because we believe that this is some kind of a harvest. They have their tools, they've been out in the orchards, they're hot and sweaty, and they're maybe done with the day, and they're singing a chant together. What's interesting to think about is what is missing. Historians, or I should say more specifically, art historians assume that the bottom half of the vase, before it was broken, the bottom half of the vase may have been the sowing of fields. Sowing, what do you mean by sowing? Sowing, S-O-W-I-N-G, meaning the planting of seeds and burying the seeds in the soil and then fostering their growth. If that is the case, if it was a harvest above and the planting of the seeds below, then what we have is a cycle of the harvest. You plant the seeds and you reap the benefits. You plant the seeds and you reap the benefits. It's the cycle of a harvest. It's the cycle of life. So we have this beautiful, harmonious cycle of life. And remember, this would have been covered in a layer of gold. It would have been extremely impressive. Sadly, the Minoan civilization collapses. It collapses, it starts to falter around 1500. The reason we believe is because of that catastrophic volcanic eruption on Thera, that we have evidence of the eruption with ash traveling all the way and reaching Egypt and the Near East. In fact, during the time of the eruption, we have their records recording a loss or a failure of crops because of the volcanic eruption's interference with the ecology. So we see a decline after 1500, and then a complete disappearance around 1370. What happened? Where'd they go? Most likely, they disappeared because of invasion. Invasion from, let me go to our slide, hold on. Invasion from the north. From specifically, I don't like that N is hanging out over there. Ugh. The Mycenaean, just put this N over there. So the Mycenaean, we believe to have invaded the Minoan culture and completely obliterated it and destroyed the palaces, absorbed the people into their own language, their own writing system, their own culture, their own religion, and therefore the Minoan civilization dies out. Let's now look at the invading forces, the Mycenaean.